Building a great company is a marathon, not a sprint. Each week, Krista Ankerman and the team at Tank New Media take on growth challenges, explore technology, and interview business leaders that are always upping their game. If you're ready to build scalable systems to drive your business forward, this podcast is for you.
Hey everyone, today we're going to have Thad Ankerman on the show. He is the co-founder of Tank New Media. He's been working with B2B companies for 10 plus years and has a lot of experience working with B2B buyers and moving them through the overall buyer's journey. And that's a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today, is really looking a little bit deeper at the modern B2B buyer, how they operate, what makes them tick, how expectations have changed over the past few years. So with that, welcome Thad.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we can kind of start out talking about why things have changed. Like overall, why has B2B buying behavior changed over the last 5-10 years or whatever that is? So what kind of changes are driving buyer behaviors? Like what do you see in the marketplace that's really changed over the last 5 years as far as buying goes?
So much of it is just technology enabling a better customer experience and constantly changing the expectation, shortening people's patience for the old way. Things like Amazon, Netflix, just all the services people have started using day to day set that expectation for user experience that's almost instant gratification. And then with things like Amazon Prime, I go into Best Buy and they know I'm going to be looking at all these prices everywhere else. You've got your price match guarantees. You've got all this stuff going on to try to combat that.
Yeah.
And there's still some value to going into a store. But if I know that I can click a button on my phone and order a TV or whatever it is, and it's going to show up in less than 2 days.
Just makes it simple.
It sort of trains me to do that because I know I'm not going to have any issues.
Streamlines it.
Yeah.
So what do you feel like is the big difference between like the old way and the new way? So talk to me a little bit about like what the old way was and then how the new way has changed.
Well, the old way you would talk to a salesperson. You might go to the store. If it's a B2B purchase, you might call the company, talk to a sales rep earlier in the process. Now you might watch 20 YouTube videos and do a bunch of online research, read articles, read reviews, pretty much know what you want before you even talk to sales.
Yeah.
So it's really valuable from a sales perspective to be able to know what someone's done prior. What videos have they watched? What things did they learn about before they actually contacted you? So you can pick up that conversation where it's already been had like 80% of the way before you ever join the conversation.
So you feel like a lot of that is really taken over with like the educational content that's out there now. So many companies are putting out so much more educational content around their products that people can really just take the time to research it.
Yeah, it's not as closed off as it used to be. You don't have to access it through sales. Through automation and lots of other ways to put content out, companies are helping people understand their products and services prior to needing to have a sales conversation. These days, if you're not already to the pricing or customization conversation by the time you get contacted, then there's something wrong with your education content. People should pretty much know what they're getting into before they have to talk to you.
Yeah. Would you encourage pretty much any B2B company to put out educational content around their products for that exact reason?
Yeah. I know some things are proprietary and there's reasons for not putting everything out there.
Sure.
But for the most part, the more you share early in the process, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. Just giving people the background on the product.
And you're helping them make the decision instead of trying to sell them something.
Yeah. We have a stat from HubSpot here that's 47% of buyers viewed 3 to 5 pieces of content before engaging a sales rep even. So, people are spending time out there looking at content, looking at, what's out there, comparing, all before talking to anybody, which is just, it surprises me, but at the same time, it's like, well, that's how I buy.
It is how you buy. If you think about a lot of the stuff, it's just, this is how we buy things. and it's changed over time. Even our parents are starting to buy things this way. So it's not just the younger demographic that's doing this. It's spread now, kind of hit critical mass to where it's really shifting buyer behavior across the board.
And it's all kinds of different content, isn't it? It's, it could be video, it could be written, it could be all kinds of different things. Do you feel like videos really kind of open the door for a lot of these things?
Me personally, yes. I think that probably relates to a lot of other people that are buying in the B2B space. Whether it's, we looked for a PEO, for instance, this last year. I don't even know what that was a year ago. So it was a little bit of an education curve, but the companies that win are the ones that helped us understand it.
Yeah.
And not only that, but the companies that advertise on the content that I'm looking at when I'm doing research.
Yeah.
So it may be a company, I'm not necessarily reading their content, but I'm seeing their promotional materials come up on the internet.
They're showing up where you already are. They're
targeting my interest. They know I'm in the market for their products or services, and they're getting in front of me.
Gotcha.
And then they're providing content for me to watch to understand.
They captured your interest.
Yeah.
Spending time, where you're already at. Makes sense. So talk to me just a little bit about the Amazon effect. You kind of alluded to it earlier about how Amazon has sort of changed expectations.
Amazon has just had such a relentless focus on that experience and the technology behind making it possible. They really set the bar for everyone else. Even in the B2B space, we have clients that they want that same experience. They know it's very difficult to get there, but they're willing to constantly keep improving to try and make their experience as good.
So what do you feel like makes that experience so good?
A lot of it is kind of predicting the next step, and you can learn this from data from previous customers or prospects and their interactions on the website or through your sales team or in chat conversations. There's lots of ways to do this, but it's actually just paying attention to what's happening so that you can then use that data to predict what to deliver a delightful experience, the next step.
Sure. And we even are seeing stats now, and this is from commerce platforms, that B2B e-commerce sales are expected to actually outgrow B2C e-commerce sales by 2020, which is really crazy to me. Do you have any kind of insight or thoughts around, that growth around B2B and e-com?
I mean, obviously there's a lot of volume there and there's a lot going on. I think the main takeaway there is that B2B buyers are people and they also are consumer buyers.
Yeah.
So those patterns of behavior cross over. It may have lagged a little bit in the B2B space, but a lot of it's getting really up to speed and really rivaling some of those B2C experiences in commerce too.
Sure. So we talked just a little bit about kind of traditionally how things used to work, and that maybe it's not working as well as it used to. As far as, cold calling and, having a gatekeeper on the information and things like that, do you have any additional insight into why that stuff might not be working anymore? From a sales standpoint. So, I'm a salesman and, I'm going out and I'm actually outreaching to people. Why is that falling short these days?
It's not working because people don't want to buy that way. Because they have all the power in their pocket to look up anything that they want to.
Power shift.
Yeah, it really is with the consumer now. And if you think about it, you can just ask Siri or your other voice assistant about anything you want, and you have access to most information in the world right there.
Sure.
It's just different, and it's interruptive. People don't want to be interrupted. If I'm on a site and I download something that's, at a part of a sales cycle that would require some interaction or a follow-up question or something, hitting me with a phone call at that time is seen as helpful. But if someone just calls me out of the blue when I'm in a meeting,
right,
you're
busy.
I don't really want to talk to them. It gives me a bad experience, and I may or may not respond to their emails or calls in the future.
Sure.
You just want to get with people when they're ready. So that's really the
on
key.
your timetable as opposed to theirs.
Yeah, you need to nurture them and know when they are ready.
Yeah.
So you're not just going down a list calling people not knowing what they're doing on the other end.
Well, and again, we have another HubSpot stat here that says 29% of people want to talk to a salesperson to learn more about a product, when actually 62% actually want to consult their search engine first. So they're wanting to go and look up all of these things, not necessarily just cold called and talk to right then and there. They want to be able to kind of do some of that due diligence on their own first.
Yeah.
Definitely. So let's talk a little bit about what the modern buyer looks like. So tell me a little bit about what you would see as kind of the modern buyer these days.
Well, I think obviously that depends on the niche that you're in and
Sure.
who your target audience is. But for the most part, everyone's smartphone enabled these days. Which services they're going to use depends. But they're all using technology to get information quickly.
Yeah, and they're probably a little bit more influenced, like we've been talking about, from online. Could be multiple channels, website, social, referrals.
Yeah.
All of those different pieces.
And it is more fragmented. I mean, with all the social media tools out there, people kind of navigate to their own space with people that agree with them a lot of the time. So it's finding where those spaces are that you can actually communicate your message and find people that are on the same page with your product or service.
Do you feel like there's more stakeholders than there used to be?
I think that varies.
Sure.
If you're selling a product that it just an individual can purchase and use. If you're selling a B2B product, especially a larger ticket item, and we have clients that sometimes are selling 6-figure B2B products, there's going to be more stakeholders.
Sure. More people need
buy-in.
buy-in.
More process internal. You have to influence people around those decision makers because you're not going to get direct access to them.
Sure. So what are customers doing when they're ready to make a purchase? Like what kind of activities are they usually doing? They're spending a lot more time probably doing research, I would guess.
Yeah, some various form of research. Some people like to watch videos. Some people like to read blog articles. Some people like to ask their friends on social media. It really varies.
Sure. So from like a promotional standpoint, as a company, do you feel like it's important to be able to make sure you're kind of showing up on all those different mediums?
Definitely. There should always be some cross-channel strategy.
So we've kind of talked a little bit about how people are, doing more research online, but do you still feel like at some point there's probably some value to having a salesperson engaged in that conversation?
Definitely. I don't think there's less value in having salespeople. I think what salespeople do is different than what they used to do. You're not going to have somebody as much going out hunting down new sales, the old, the old type of aggressive sales approach.
Okay.
They're going to be more helpers. They're going to be almost like customer service people that are going to close the best sales, especially if they're enabled by marketing and they have a lot of sales enablement material to go from. Because they're really just helping someone make a decision. They're not trying to influence them to buy something they don't need.
Sure.
They're not trying necessarily to get them to switch. If they've done their inbound content the right way, people are already educated. They understand them. They want to do business with them. And they just need to help them do that.
Just for anybody who doesn't know what sales enablement is, can you just give me a quick definition of that?
It's really just the tools and technology and content that's required to move someone all the way through a sale to close.
So helps closing deals, basically.
Yeah, and that can go all the way through to like contract or proposal software, spec sheets, anything about the product that they might want to have at their fingertips to send.
Great. Very cool.
And automation tools as well, so that they can spend more time helping customers or prospects and less time writing emails and doing all the tedious stuff.
Doing all the follow-up work.
Yeah,
that stuff takes so much time. So if you were going to give some advice to a company that was really looking to, attract and start nurturing some of their customers, what would be some advice you would give them?
I think the most basic advice is just pay attention to how you actually buy things. Because it's really easy to make an assumption because you've been doing something for a long time.
Sure.
That's still the way everyone does things. But if you just look at your own habits and your own behavior, or your friends and family, you're going to understand that it's changed.
Yeah.
And it applies in B2B just as much as it does in the B2C space.
Yeah, that maybe we should be kind of adjusting and doing a few things differently overall.
Yep.
Overall. So just a quick summary of some of the things that we've kind of talked about, some of the key things, that could really help you reach kind of the modern buyer. One of those would be really educating your customers. It's really important to build trust and make sure you're being really helpful with the content that you're putting out. Not just promoting yourself, but really, taking the time to give something valuable. So if somebody is doing research, trying to understand, if this product or service is right for them, that your content is really going to be helpful in that way. Making sure you're really solving problems and helping move them down the buyer's journey, so to speak. Something else that you also mentioned was going multi-channel, so making sure that you are kind of where your customer is. So they're going to see your brand, they're going to start becoming aware, and you really kind of start getting that brand recognition.
Well, and with that, you really need that consistency. So you need to know what your brand is and what it stands for, why you're doing things.
Yeah, and being in front of them, on a consistent basis, like you mentioned, and often as well.
Mm-hmm.
So being in multi-channel, kind of hitting the multiple places, will really kind of drive that home for sure. And again, just really making sure you're adding that value for your customers. Knowing them, make sure you understand where they're going to be, what kind of things that they're interested in, so you can really make content that's going to be helpful for them. And you can do that with various, like we talked about, various different channels, whether that's video, content, podcasts, for instance, just really being able to reach them and be helpful first. Would you agree with that?
Always.
For more information on this episode, visit manufacturinggrowth.com.